How Bharat Stage 6 Phase 2 works? Bharat Stage 6, what is it? Bharat Stage 6 is the second phase of the government's plan to implement stricter vehicle emission standards in the country. The standards will be based on the Euro 6 norms, which are currently followed in the European Union. The first phase of the plan, which was implemented in 2016, was based on the Euro 4 norms. The main aim of the Bharat Stage 6 standards is to reduce the emission of harmful pollutants from vehicles. The standards will be applicable to all four-wheel vehicles, including cars, SUVs, and trucks. Two-wheelers will continue to follow the Bharat Stage 3 norms. The Bharat Stage 6 standards will come into effect from April 1, 2020. All new vehicles sold in the country will have to comply with the standards from this date. However, existing vehicles will have a grace period of 3 years to upgrade to the new standards. The government is expecting that the implementation of the Bharat Stage 6 standards will lead to a reduction in the emission of harmful pollutants by 50%. This, in turn, is expected to improve the air quality in the country, especially in cities where the pollution levels are high. Bharat Stage 6 advantages. The Bharat Stage 6 (BS6) Phase 2 will see the implementation of the most stringent emission norms yet, coming into effect from April 1, 2020. All vehicles sold in India from this date onwards will have to comply with the BS6 norms. The BS6 Phase 2 emission norms will be applicable to both petrol and diesel vehicles. The Bharat Stage Emission Standards (BSIS) are emission standards instituted by the Government of India to regulate output of air pollutants from internal combustion engine vehicles. The standards and the time frame for implementation are set by the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways. The standards are based on the Euro standards. The first set of standards, BS1, was introduced in 2000. The latest set of standards, BS6, will be phased in from April 2020. All vehicles sold in India from this date onwards will have to comply with the BS6 norms. The BS6 Phase 2 emission norms will be applicable to both petrol and diesel vehicles. Petrol vehicles will have to meet a particulate matter (PM) limit of 0.005 grams per kilometer, while the limit for diesel vehicles will be 0.0025 grams per kilometer. The NOx limit for both petrol and diesel vehicles will be 0.08 grams/km. In order to meet the BS6 Phase 2 emission norms, vehicles will need to be equipped with advanced emission control technologies, such as catalytic converters, particulate filters and exhaust gas recirculation (EGR) systems. The implementation of the BS6 Phase 2 emission norms is expected to lead to an increase in the prices of vehicles. However, the long-term benefits of cleaner air and better health for all will far outweigh the initial cost. Bharat Stage 6 disadvantages. The second phase of Bharat Stage 6 (BS6) will be implemented from April 2020. The government has already announced that BS6 vehicles will be more expensive than their BS4 counterparts by up to Rs 1.5 lakh. This is because BS6 vehicles will have to meet stricter emission norms. While BS6 vehicles will be more expensive, they will also be more fuel efficient. This is because BS6 engines will be more efficient than BS4 engines and will emit less pollutants. However, there are some disadvantages of BS6 vehicles that you should be aware of before making the switch. Higher prices. As mentioned earlier, BS6 vehicles will be more expensive than their BS4 counterparts. This is because BS6 engines are more complex and require more expensive technology. Lesser choice. At the moment, there are only a handful of BS6 compliant vehicles available in the market. This number is expected to increase in the coming months, but you will still have a limited choice when compared to BS4 vehicles. Less powerful engines. BS6 engines are less powerful than BS4 engines. This is because they have to meet stricter emission norms, which results in a reduced output. Limited aftermarket options. At the moment, there are very few aftermarket options available for BS6 vehicles. This is because the technology is still new and most companies are yet to catch up. Infrequent servicing. BS6 vehicles will need to be serviced more frequently than BS4 vehicles. This is because the engines are more complex and require more maintenance. Coming to the conclusion, BHARAT Stage 6 is the final stage of emission standards prescribed by the Government of India for four-wheel vehicles. The standards are based on the Euro 6 norms adopted in Europe. The standards were first introduced in 2016 for vehicles sold in India. The second phase of the standards will be implemented in 2020. The main objective of the BHARAT Stage 6 standards is to reduce air pollution from vehicles. The standards are divided into two phases. The first phase was implemented in 2016 and the second phase will be implemented in 2020. The standards are based on the Euro 6 norms. The standards prescribe the emission limit for various pollutants such as carbon monoxide, CO, hydrocarbons, HC, nitrogen oxides, NOx, and particulate matter, PM. The standards also prescribe the type of fuel to be used in vehicles. The fuel should be of good quality and should meet the specifications prescribed by the standards. The second phase of the standards will be more stringent than the first phase. The emission limits for various pollutants will be reduced. The standards will also prescribe the use of cleaner fuels such as natural gas and biofuels. The implementation of the BHARAT Stage 6 standards will help to reduce air pollution from vehicles and will also lead to the use of cleaner fuels.